Welcome back, and thank you for tuning in to Midnight Affairs Tales that we appreciate every single one of you. We'd love to know what part of the world you are watching from right now. Let us know in the comments now. Let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1. The cell was damp. Dirt floor. Metal chains. No light, but the slit of sun that crept in around noon. Cole Maddox sat in silence, his wrists bloodied from the cuffs, his face swollen from another round of questions he didn't answer. He hadn't spoken in 3 days. His uniform had been stripped weeks ago, replaced with a tattered shirt and a smell he no longer noticed. But in his mind, the man was still wearing navy blue, still a SEAL, still someone. Time blurred behind enemy lines. Every minute stretched like a wire pulled too tight. The only thing that kept Cole from breaking was a whisper of memory. "Come back to me." That was Trina's voice, his wife, the one who cried when he left and kissed him like she couldn't survive without him. But that was before the ambush, before the radio went dead, before the other men stopped screaming. They'd left him there. He heard footsteps. 2 guards. One opened the metal door with a clank. "American," the other spat. "You should be dead." Cole looked up slowly. His eyes were calm. That scared them more than rage ever could. Outside, somewhere close, gunfire cracked through the air. Shouts, then screams, then silence. A single shot rang out. Then, nothing. The guard froze. Something was wrong. Cole smiled. 10 minutes later, the doors swung open again, but it wasn't the guards. It was a man in full tactical gear, face covered. He motioned. "Let's go." Cole didn't speak. He stood, legs trembling, and followed him into the blinding light. He was out, but he didn't feel free. As the truck sped through the desert, Cole held the seat tight. His voice was raw when he finally asked, "How long?" The man looked over. "You've been gone 18 months. They declared you dead." Cole stared at the road ahead. Dead? But what if the man in that coffin wasn't me? Wait, I need to tell you something important. Have you ever realized that you keep watching my videos but haven't subscribed yet? This video has reached this point, which means you're enjoying it. So why not subscribe? I have a big goal for 1,000 subscribers, and you can help me reach it. Think about it. If you don't subscribe now, you might miss my next big video. This is the moment. Hit that subscribe button now. Do it now. And don't forget to hit the bell icon so you never miss out. I know you'll do it. And when we hit 4,000 subscribers, I have a special surprise for you. Now, let's continue story. 3 years earlier. The beach was quiet that morning. Cole stood barefoot in the sand, his boots beside him, watching the tide pull and push like it had somewhere to be. His muscles were tight, but his mind was calm. He was ready. Behind him, the team geared up. SEALs moved with rhythm, no wasted motion, no words unless needed. His brothers. He knew them like blood, even though some he hadn't known more than a year. Cole was their leader, not because he was the loudest, but because when the chaos hit, he stayed clear. He didn't flinch. He didn't blink. Briggs clapped him on the back. "You're thinking too hard, Cap." Cole smirked, just feeling the quiet before the storm. "You're not going to get that where we're headed." Cole nodded. "I know." Later, in the mess hall, he sat alone writing a letter. Not to the Navy, not to command, to Trina. "You know me better than anyone. If something happens out there, I need you to remember this life was my choice. I'd do it again. For you." She'd given him a silver compass the night before. "So you find your way back." He wore it under his gear every mission. It was personal, sacred. Before the team boarded the bird that would fly them to their last op, Cole caught a strange look from the embedded tech guy, civilian contractor. Name, Lyle Granger. Cole didn't trust him. Too smooth. Too clean. Never looked anyone in the eye for more than a second. He filed that away. The team lifted off into the black night. Cole gave one last look at the photo of Trina he'd tucked in his pocket. He never saw that beach again. But the beach wasn't what haunted him. It was the look in Lyle's eyes. Like he already knew they wouldn't all be coming back. The flag was folded with ceremony. Perfect corners. The priest spoke like he knew the man. Trina didn't hear a word of it. She was crying. Or pretending to. To the crowd, she was the shattered widow. Young, beautiful, devastated. She clutched the folded flag like it was the only thing tethering her to the world. In truth, she hadn't dreamed about Cole in months, because dreams had been replaced with dinners, laughter, and Lyle. He stood in the second row, in a dark suit, not touching her, but close enough that people noticed. He'd been just helping during the days after the news, helping her file the insurance paperwork, helping her pack the gear she didn't want, helping her move into the condo downtown. Trina knew it looked bad. She also knew people moved on. But she didn't expect to feel this cold. Her phone buzzed. An automated military alert. Status: confirmed Kia. Cole Maddox. Age 32. Navy SEAL. Body unrecovered. She read it, then deleted it. Later that night, she and Lyle drank wine in silence. He watched her carefully. Too carefully. "Do you regret it?" he asked. She didn't answer right away. Then, "Which part?" He raised his glass. "The pretending." She smirked. "Only a little." Outside, a car passed by slowly. Headlights off. Just coasting. Inside, Cole's brother sat at his kitchen table, staring at the funeral program. Something didn't sit right. No remains. No body. No real answers. He flipped the program over. On the back was a photo of Cole, smiling in his uniform. But what nagged him wasn't the image. It was the date. Lyle had made a donation to a memorial fund 3 weeks before the mission had even gone sideways. Why? The world moved on. While Cole Maddox lay broken in a bunker halfway across the globe, his name became a headline. A folded flag. A checkbox in a government database. His death was clean, neat, controlled. And that's what made it suspicious. The night of the raid, something had gone wrong. The mission op had shifted last minute. New coordinates, late intel, a rushed go. Cole had questioned it at the time but followed orders. They walked straight into hell. He remembered flashes, gunfire erupting, the explosion tearing through the front of the building, the sound of Briggs screaming. Then silence. And betrayal. Because as Cole crawled, bleeding and disoriented, into the rubble, he saw it, just before blacking out. A drone, hovering silently above. The same one Lyle had demoed 2 days prior. It didn't help them. It didn't report. It vanished, like someone had planned it. After the explosion, Cole was dragged out by enemy forces. Barely alive. He didn't know how long he'd been under. Days. Weeks. They kept him in a concrete pit. Fed him scraps. Beat him for answers. He gave them nothing. What broke him wasn't the pain. It was the silence. No rescue. No contact. No reinforcements. Just the slow, sinking realization that no one was coming. They had left him. And someone wanted it that way. When the raid finally came, whether by chance or something else, Cole didn't ask. He just moved, crawled out of the dirt, climbed into the truck, and vanished into a recovery program so black, even the Pentagon didn't log his name. Cole wasn't supposed to be alive, but he was. And in his mind, something shifted. If the world believed he was dead, maybe that's exactly what he needed to become something else. Something no one saw coming. They flew him back under a false name. The pilot never asked questions. The passport was forged. No family waiting, no press, no parades. Just a silent landing at a private airfield outside Virginia. Cole Maddox, officially, did not exist. He stepped off the plane in civilian clothes and walked straight into nothing. No base, no unit, no home. Just a borrowed car and a file folder with instructions. Stay invisible. But Cole wasn't there to stay hidden. He was there to find answers. The first stop? His house. Or what used to be his house. It was a modern craftsman-style place on a tree-lined street in Richmond. He'd poured everything into it, rebuilding the porch himself, planting the dogwood trees out front. He remembered it with detail most people forget. But now, it was someone else's. He parked across the street and stared for a long time. The shutters were different. The grass trimmed too perfectly. A red Tesla in the driveway. And then he saw her. Trina, his wife, stepping out the front door in a robe, coffee in hand, hair up. Still beautiful, still familiar, but laughing. And not alone. A man came behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. Shirtless, comfortable, like he belonged there. Cole's jaw tightened. They kissed, and Cole felt something inside him break. He didn't go up, didn't make a scene. He simply reversed the car and drove away. That wasn't his house anymore. It wasn't his life. It was his grave. Later that night, he stood in a motel bathroom, staring at himself. The scars, the healed fracture in his jaw, the eyes that didn't look like they used to. He touched the compass around his neck. Still there, but the man who'd worn it? Gone. Now it was someone else. Someone who came back not for comfort, but for payback. He needed answers. Not guesses. Not theories. Facts. So Cole started following. Lyle Granger was easy to track. Tech mogul turned contractor. Flashy cars, expensive dinners, high-profile meetings. But it wasn't the public life Cole cared about. It was the quiet movements, the hidden patterns. For the next 2 weeks, Cole watched from the edges, parking garages, side streets, rooftop vantage points. He followed Lyle to downtown D.C., then to a secure research facility in Langley. Each time, Lyle passed through layers of clearance. Military connected. But he wasn't just a tech consultant. Cole was sure of it. At night, Lyle drove back to his house. To Trina. To the life Cole had died to protect. He started collecting evidence. Dates. Sign-ins. Financial transfers. Old emails from shared accounts Cole still had access to. Little by little, the picture formed. Lyle had been in contact with Cole's unit commander before the mission. Unofficial messages. Private logs. There were patterns in the timestamps. Lyle knew. He knew something before the team ever left. One night, Cole followed Lyle to a restaurant, one he and Trina used to go to. Cole watched them laugh over dinner, sipping wine, toasting something. Trina leaned in close. Lyle whispered something. She smiled, kissed him. Cole didn't flinch. He just raised the camera in his phone and took the shot. Not because he needed it, but because someday they would. As he stepped away from the window, his phone buzzed. A message from Briggs. "Where the hell have you been?" Cole smiled faintly. He typed, "Not dead," then paused, and added, "But ready." He looked back at the restaurant window, now fogged by the cold night air. "To hell and back," he whispered. "Now let's finish the trip." The venue was too perfect. A hillside vineyard overlooking Napa Valley. Long white canopies stretched over tables dressed in gold. Strings of lights tangled above the dance floor like fireflies caught in a net. The sun would set right behind the altar, time to the ceremony. Trina wanted a wedding that felt like a movie. She was getting one. Cole sat in a blacked-out SUV on a ridge about a quarter-mile out. His binoculars were fixed on the chaos of preparation. Wedding planners barked orders. Workers wheeled in sound equipment and floral arches. He zoomed in. There she was. Trina in a fitted ivory dress, her hair pinned up, laughing. Then Lyle walked into frame, phone in hand, sunglasses on, chewing gum like he owned the world. Cole watched them together, something burning slow inside him. He whispered, "This is what you built on top of my grave." Briggs sat beside him, scoping the perimeter. "You sure you want to do this here?" Public. Cameras. Cops on site. Cole didn't take his eyes off the couple. "That's why." Briggs shifted. "You planning to crash it loud?" Cole nodded once. "They crashed my life," he said. "It's only fair." Later, they drove down to scout the inside. Cole moved like a ghost between the venue's side hallways. No one recognized him. Not anymore. He found the guest list printed and taped to the coordinator's clipboard. He scanned the names. His own parents weren't invited. But one name stopped him cold. Commander Ashton Grant, Cole's former unit lead. The man who signed off on the final op. Why was he here? Briggs looked over his shoulder. "What's the play?" Cole tucked the clipboard back. "Let it crash itself," he said. "We'll just pull the brake lines." It had been Cole's house. Not just the building. The paint colors. The furniture. The backyard hammock where he and Trina used to fall asleep after Sunday barbecues. All of it. His. Now it felt like a museum of betrayal. Cole broke in just past 2 a.m. He knew the alarm code. Trina never changed it. Habit, or maybe arrogance. He moved through the house in silence, the floorboards still creaking in the same places. Everything was cleaner than he remembered. Designer touches. New frames on the wall. He walked into the bedroom and froze. The sheets were different. Dark blue. But the smell, hers, still lingered. Perfume and peppermint shampoo. He touched the edge of the dresser and opened the drawer where he used to keep his watch. Gone. In its place, cologne. Lyle's. Cole didn't rage. Didn't break anything. He just moved. Down to the basement. To the storage closet he'd sealed with a metal plate and code lock. His own private space, untouched by Trina. He typed the old code. 1127, their anniversary. The lock clicked. Inside were boxes. Gear. Photos. And a sealed manila envelope marked mission for -7FU redline. He opened it. Inside, maps. Drone images. Mission logs. And a flash drive. The mission that was supposed to be classified beyond his clearance. The op that got him killed. Why did Lyle have access to this? Why was it buried in his house? Footsteps. Cole froze. He backed into the shadows as someone came down the stairs. Trina, wearing a robe, talking on the phone. I swear, I'll burn everything if it shows up again, she whispered. A pause. Then, he's dead. Cole's dead. That's why we're safe. Cole's fingers tightened around the flash drive. You're not safe. Not anymore. Trina Maddox Granger sat in front of the vanity mirror, staring at herself. The dress was flawless, fitted to her exact form. Makeup done. Hair set in a sweeping updo. Everything about her said calm, elegant, perfect. Except her eyes. They were twitching. She took another sip of champagne. Her phone buzzed. A message from a blocked number. Enjoy your last night as a liar. She gripped the edge of the counter. Outside, bridesmaids laughed and posed for selfies. The photographer knocked gently on the door. 5 minutes, Mrs. Granger. Coming, she said, forcing her voice steady. She looked back in the mirror. Mrs. Granger, that wasn't her name. Not really. She never changed it after Cole was killed. Never legally. But the moment the coffin came home empty and the checks cleared, she'd moved on like the past was just dust on a window. She told herself she had no choice. She told herself Lyle was safety. But the lie was too big now. The wedding felt like a performance with no exit. She remembered the first time she and Lyle kissed. It was 3 weeks before Cole's final deployment. Cole had been gone that night, team briefing out of state. Trina was at a bar with friends. Lyle ran into her. Smooth. Charming. He knew exactly what to say. She never asked how he knew she'd be there. Never questioned how quickly he got close. Now, staring at herself in the mirror, she whispered, "Do you think he knows?" But the question wasn't for Lyle. It was for Cole, the man she buried in lies. The man who never came home. Or, what if he did? And what if he was watching? The music played soft at first. Harp strings and piano keys mixed with the distant sound of wind between grapevines. Guests arrived in waves. Suits, dresses, champagne flutes. Smiles stretched too wide. Laughter came too easily. Fake. The Granger name was powerful now. Lyle's company had tripled in value in just under a year. His wedding to Trina Maddox was more than romance. It was branding. Influence. Headlines. Cole sat across the road, just beyond the hill, watching through a high-powered lens. He didn't blink. Through the scope, he saw Commander Ashton Grant shaking Lyle's hand like they'd known each other for decades. That sealed it. Cole leaned back in the SUV and muttered, "So this isn't just betrayal. It's business." Briggs was in the passenger seat, chewing sunflower seeds and spitting shells into a cup. "You gonna take him down in front of everyone?" "No," Cole said. "He'll do that himself." He pointed to the projector being set up near the altar. "What's that for?" Briggs grinned. "Slideshow. Photos. Childhood junk. Probably a highlight reel of her life before she sold her soul." Cole nodded. "Then that's where we begin." He reached into his bag and handed Briggs a flash drive. "This has everything," he said. "His betrayal. Her lies. My story. You sure about this?" Briggs asked. "No," Cole said. "But I'm not staying dead another day." Backstage, Lyle adjusted his tie in the mirror. "You know I hate tuxes." "You look like money," said his best man, laughing. Lyle smirked. That's the idea. The guy had it all now. Power. Trina. A flawless public image. Even the military contract scandal had stayed buried. But deep down, he was sweating. A folder had arrived that morning with no return address. Inside was a photo. Trina, kissing Cole. Not a selfie. A real photo. Framed perfectly. Dated. Labeled. The night you made your move. He burned it. But the damage was already crawling up his spine. Someone knew. He walked down the aisle with cameras flashing. Drone hovering. The wedding was being live-streamed on social for branding reasons, his company's logo on the bottom of the feed. Trina hated that, but he didn't care. Let them watch, he'd said. Let them admire. And they did. Thousands watching live. They didn't know the bride was marrying the man who sold out a SEAL team for money. They didn't know the groom paid for this perfect day with blood. Cole watched it all from behind a vineyard gate. Not crashing. Not yet. Just witnessing. This wasn't about walking in and shouting. This was about truth, with witnesses. Let the world see what they've been with this whole time. Trina stood behind the curtain. The music changed. That was her cue. Her heart pounded, but her smile was practiced. She touched up her lipstick, fixed a loose hair, and stared at her own reflection one last time. She didn't see a bride. She saw a woman wearing a mask. She lifted her veil, then paused. Outside, she heard laughter. The minister clearing his throat. The rustle of paper. Then she heard a sound she wasn't expecting. A glitch. The speakers popped. The video screen blinked to life. It wasn't the wedding slideshow. It was a black screen. Then white text. The truth deserves witnesses. Then, play me. The projector glitched again, and Cole's face appeared. Not smiling. Not soft. Alive. He looked straight into the camera. Scars visible. Eyes sharp. If you're watching this, congratulations. You made it to the wedding. Trina staggered back. On the screen, Cole's voice continued. Calm. Heavy. This woman cried at my funeral while sleeping with the man who signed my death warrant. This man, Lyle Granger, sold classified intel, cost American lives, and now smiles for the camera. But I'm not dead, and neither is the truth. Gasps. Screams. Trina pushed through the curtains, but it was too late. People were on their feet. Phones raised. Her world cracked open in real time. And somewhere in that crowd, Cole watched it all. Now let me ask you something. Where are you watching this from? Seriously. Which city are you in right now? Say it out loud. Because no matter where you are, you're about to see what real revenge looks like. The guests were still screaming when the video cut out. Phones buzzed. Chairs scraped. The minister stood frozen with his mouth half open. Lyle shouted at the tech crew, rage boiling, mask gone. Trina? Gone. She'd run the moment Cole's voice hit the speakers. Barefoot. Veil dragging behind her like a ghost tail. Inside the bridal suite, she slammed the door and locked it. Her hands shook. She tried to breathe, but each gasp felt thinner than the last. He was alive. Alive. Cole wasn't a nightmare. He was real. And he just dropped a live grenade on everything. Her phone buzzed again. Another blocked message. You think you know all the secrets. You only know yours. She stared at the screen, then whispered, what else is there? She thought she had buried the past, thought the affair was the worst of it. But now her mind was racing. Cole wasn't just back, he was hunting. And something told her this wasn't just about love or betrayal. It was about a secret she hadn't uncovered yet. A secret Lyle kept buried deeper than her lies. Because Lyle had gone pale, not angry, not vengeful, terrified. Lyle slammed the door of the green room and threw his tie across the floor. His hands ran through his hair. He stared at his reflection like it might shatter. Cole Maddox was alive. And if he was alive, the deal wasn't done. He ripped open a drawer in his briefcase and yanked out a burner phone. Dialed. 1 ring. 2. Don't call me again, said the voice on the other end. You said he was dead. Silence. Then you better fix it before you're the one who disappears. Click. Lyle turned, nearly knocking over a glass of bourbon. Fix it. How? The boyfriend image was gone now. No more charming, composed tech genius. Just a man backed into a corner. His lawyer would tell him to deny everything. Claim digital manipulation. Say Cole faked it. But Lyle knew. This wasn't manipulation. It was a war declaration. He pulled up Trina's contact. Didn't call. Just stared. He was supposed to be the answer to her grief. The second chance. Now she probably saw him as the devil. The door creaked open. Trina stood there, barefoot, mascara streaked. You knew he was alive, she said. Lyle didn't answer. She walked closer. You lied to me. Still nothing. She slapped him hard. Then whispered, what did you do? He looked at her then. Cold. Empty. Everything I had to. Briggs stood by the truck, watching the fallout unfold from a laptop screen. Whole damn wedding's gone nuclear, he muttered. Cole didn't smile. He was beyond satisfaction. This wasn't a victory. This was just the start. He opened the back of the SUV and pulled out a flat metal case. Inside, documents, mission records, photographs, dog tags, and blood. Not literal, but what they represented. He picked up one photo, his unit. Pre-mission. Laughing. Alive. By the end of that op, 3 were dead. And every one of them bled for a mission that had been fed bad intel. Lyle's intel. Cole clenched his fist. This wasn't just about betrayal. This was about murder. Sanitized. Signed off. Funded. He pulled up the audio clip Briggs had recovered, a recording from a drone channel that was never supposed to be active. A voice. Target is exposed. Pull back. Let it happen. No survivors. That voice? Lyle. Cole stared into the distance. The sun was setting now, same as it did the night the mission burned. But he wouldn't let the sun go down on those names without justice. He strapped a sidearm under his jacket. Briggs looked over. Where to next? Cole shut the case. Blood for blood. The door to the underground bar in D.C. looked like it hadn't been opened in years. No sign. No light. Just a metal handle and a coded lock. Cole punched in the numbers. For -7. FQ. The door clicked open. Inside, the air was thick with smoke and secrets. At a corner table sat Greer, ex-NSA, semi-retired, semi-dangerous. The kind of man who operated in whispers and walked with a limp no one asked about. Cole slid into the booth. Greer didn't look up. You shouldn't be alive. Yeah, Cole said. That's been going around. Greer took a long drag from his cigarette. You come for answers, or war? Both. Cole pulled out the drive. Red line op. For years ago. You were in on it. Greer stared at the drive like it burned. Lyle Granger, Cole continued. He had access he shouldn't have. The drop location changed. The comms cut off. You gave him something. Or you looked the other way. Greer finally looked up. His eyes were tired. You don't know what you're poking. I know you signed a deal, Cole said. He got rich. My men got buried. Silence. Then Greer leaned in. You think Lyle was the top? He was just the signature. The real deal was with people who don't go on LinkedIn. Names, Cole said. You don't want them. I didn't come back from hell to be careful. Greer studied him. Then, fine. You want your list? I'll give you one. But you better be ready. Because once you cross that line, there's no clean hands. Cole's stare didn't waver. They spilled blood, he said. I'm just returning the debt. Lyle Granger paced inside his downtown office, surrounded by glass and steel, but feeling more exposed than ever. The press hadn't gotten the full story yet, but his board had. 3 calls that morning. 2 sponsors pulled out. 1 investor paused all funding. He could feel it, his empire cracking, like a storm building on the horizon. He called in his head of security. I want everything scrubbed. Devices, files, logs. I want every email with Cole Maddox's name off the servers. Yes, sir. And track that leak. He didn't say what he was really thinking. Someone else is helping him. And he was right. Briggs had been busy. Back in a safe house 2 states over, Cole and Briggs stared at a wall covered in printouts and photos. Dates. Transfers. Satellite images. One line connected everything. 6 weeks after Cole's death, Lyle's company received a classified tech contract worth $43 million from a firm that didn't exist a year before. Shell Company. No physical address. Just paper and access. Briggs slapped a file down. This is how they buried it. Under 10 layers of legal noise. Cole looked at the papers. But not deep enough. Briggs tilted his head. You know what happens when you take a sledgehammer to a man's reputation. He sues. Cole said. No, Briggs said. He panics. And panicked people make mistakes. Cole stared at the photo of Lyle and Trina on the cover of Forbes. Her smile was polished. His eyes, paranoid. Let's see how much dirt it takes before he starts to drown. Trina sat in her walk-in closet, lights off, wedding dress still in a pile at her feet. It was over. Not just the wedding, the life. The image. The illusion she'd crafted so carefully. Gone in minutes. She hadn't seen Lyle since the fallout. He'd gone to contain the damage. Translation. Lie better. Cover harder. But Trina wasn't blind anymore. Everything felt tainted. The necklace on her neck, a gift from Lyle, now looked like a shackle. The engagement ring like a collar. She pulled out an old photo album. One she hadn't touched since Cole's death. Inside were memories that no longer felt like hers, because she wasn't the woman in those pictures anymore. She didn't know who she was. Then, a knock. She jumped. Opened the door to find a small black envelope on the floor. Inside, a photo. It was her and Lyle on the balcony 2 nights before the wedding. But the angle, it wasn't from a drone. It wasn't from a phone. It was taken from ground level. Close. On the back, handwritten, pretty mask. Shame about the cracks. She dropped it, heart pounding. He was watching, not just appearing, but surrounding her life piece by piece. Cole wasn't haunting them. He was hunting them. And the worst part? Trina no longer knew if she was the prey or part of the trap. Lyle Granger had built his life on control. He controlled the narrative, the deals, the people around him. Even Trina. Especially Trina. He'd learned early that power wasn't just about what you owned. It was about what people believed. And now, people believed something else. They believed Cole Maddox was alive. And worse, they believed he was right. Lyle sat in his penthouse office, curtains drawn, lights off, his laptop glowing like a spotlight in the dark. On screen were screenshots from message boards, threads, online leaks. Someone had uploaded redacted mission files, documents that were never supposed to see daylight. He read the comments. Why isn't this all over the news? Someone buried this on purpose. Cole Maddox deserved better. His jaw clenched. He slammed the lid shut. Control was slipping. Fast. He grabbed his burner and made another call. Contain it. The voice on the other end replied, You don't contain ghosts, Lyle. You survive them. The line went dead. Outside his door, the office manager tapped nervously. Sir? There's someone downstairs asking for you. Name? The assistant hesitated. Cole Maddox. Lyle's breath caught. Then the assistant smiled weakly. Just kidding. Some guy named Briggs. The fear didn't fade. Because even if it wasn't Cole down there, Lyle knew he was coming. And this time, there might not be a next move. Cole moved like smoke. No sound. No scent. No trace. He drifted through the back halls of Lyle's private facility like he belonged there. Badge cloned, security bypassed. He'd mapped it all out over the past month. The lab, the server room, the restricted sublevel. All of it built on military contracts signed with blood. He passed employees who didn't look up. To them, he was just another suit. Another visitor in a badge. But under his jacket sat a camera, recording everything. He entered a cold room lined with servers, pulled the drive from his coat, plugged it in. Within seconds, data downloaded. Emails, schematics, maps, audio files, evidence. This wasn't just a hit job. This was a cover-up wrapped in layers of military funding, fake shell companies, and encrypted message chains. Cole whispered into his mic, Got it. Briggs replied through the earpiece. Copy. You've got 3 minutes. Then security shift change. Cole's eyes scanned the room one more time. His breath fogged on the glass. That's when he saw it, something he hadn't expected. A folder labeled O.P. Maddox. He clicked. Photos. Of him. Not from the mission, but after. From recovery. From weeks ago. They knew he was alive before the wedding. He whispered, "Son of A." They hadn't just moved on. They were monitoring him, hunting him back. He yanked the drive free, stepped out, and disappeared into the corridor like a ghost. Shadow to shadow. One man, one mission, and now, one truth. They were afraid of him for a reason. It started with a whisper, a Reddit thread, a leaked email, a text message from an unknown source. Then the burn began. By 9 a.m., #GrangerGate was trending. Screenshots of contracts, audio clips of Cole's final radio call, a list of names from his SEAL team, 3 marked Kia, 1 marked unaccounted. Cole's photo, military uniform, cold stare, was everywhere. It spread like fire. By noon, journalists were camped outside Granger's HQ. By 2 p.m., the Department of Defense had issued a statement. "We are actively investigating allegations of unauthorized intel sharing connected to the 4-7FQ operation." Lau was on the top floor of his office building, watching the smoke rise, not from the streets, but from his empire. His lawyer sat across from him, pale and sweating. "We need to distance you from this. Say you were misled. That the data was faked. No one's going to believe that. Then we buy silence." Lau stood, yanked off his tie, and poured a glass of whiskey. His hand shook. He was losing. Not just public control, but personal command. Trina hadn't come home. The board had called an emergency vote. And Cole? He wasn't just burning Lyle's reputation. He was burning the whole house down. Lyle turned to the window and looked down at the crowd below. They were chanting something. One word. Over and over. Justice. The fire had started, and it wasn't stopping. Cole hadn't been back to the cemetery since the funeral. His funeral. It was surreal, standing at his own grave, reading his own name, etched in stone as if the world had finalized his story without asking him. Cole Maddox, 1989 to 2023 husband. Soldier. Hero. A lie carved in granite. He stood under a cloudy sky, wind biting through his jacket. The flowers Trina had once left had long withered. Plastic flags had faded from the sun. It all looked forgotten, but not to him. He knelt, brushing away dirt from the base of the headstone. He stared at it for a long time, then pulled a folded letter from his pocket and placed it on the stone. The letter wasn't for Trina. It was for the men who didn't come back. Briggs watched from a distance, silent, arms crossed. Cole finally stood. "You all right?" Briggs asked. "No, you ready?" Cole nodded. "Yeah. What now?" Cole stared at the name on the stone. "They buried me," he said quietly. "But they forgot to bury what I knew." Then he turned and walked away. He wasn't looking to rise again. He was here to dig something up. They met in an empty church, the same one from his fake funeral. It was dark, cold, and quiet. Echoes filled the space like ghosts. Greer was waiting in the front pew, coat collar up, cigarette already burning. Cole walked in slow. "No rush." "You brought it?" Greer asked. Cole tossed him the drive. Greer plugged it into a battered laptop. As the files loaded, he let out a low whistle. "You really pulled this from their servers?" "Everything," Cole said. "Every detail." Greer flipped through the folders. "Jesus," he muttered. "This is bigger than I thought. Granger's just the leash." "I want the hand holding it," Cole said. Greer looked up. "You're playing with fire." Cole pulled back his sleeve. A thick scar ran across his forearm. Raw. Ugly. Permanent. He looked Greer dead in the eyes. "I already got burned." Greer studied him for a moment, then sighed. "All right. You want the real names? The buyers? The middlemen? Fine. But once this leaks, there's no putting it back." "I don't want it back," Cole said. "I want it burned to ash." "Revenge?" Greer asked. Cole paused. "No," he said. "Truth." Greer nodded slowly. "That I can help with." The file was massive. Emails, wire transfers, signed NDAs, even voice recordings from high-level phone taps, exposing a trail of corruption so long it didn't just end with Lyle Granger. It reached politicians, CEOs, military insiders. Cole had spent nights organizing it, tagging files, highlighting connections. Now, with Briggs and Greer in the room, he laid it out across the table. This, he said, pointing to a folder labeled Chain Fall, is where it all started. A $43 million contract given to a fake company, funneled through 3 offshore accounts, with digital trails leading back to a man who had once signed Cole's deployment orders. This isn't just revenge, Briggs said. This is war. Cole nodded. Good. Because they started it. They uploaded the first batch anonymously, sent it to 3 investigative journalists, dropped another copy in encrypted files to a military watchdog. Then they waited. Not long. Within hours, the leaks exploded. Cole watched it unfold from the shadows, news anchors stammering through live reports, political aides resigning, and Lyle Granger's face being blasted across every screen with the word traitor right below it. He didn't smile. He didn't need to. This wasn't about emotion. This was about justice. And now, finally, there was proof. It arrived in a plain box, no return address. Wrapped in brown paper, tied with black string. Trina found it on her doorstep just after sunset. She hesitated before picking it up, as if even the cardboard might carry venom. A part of her already knew who sent it, but she couldn't stop herself. She took it inside, set it on the kitchen table, and stared at it for 5 full minutes. Then she opened it. Inside was a velvet box. She opened that too. A compass. Old. Worn. Familiar. Her heart stopped. It was the one she gave Cole the night before his final deployment. The one he promised he'd wear under his vest. The one she hadn't seen since the day they told her he was gone. It shouldn't be here. Not now. Not in her kitchen. Her breath caught in her throat. Hands trembling, she pulled out a folded note beneath it. 2 words. Still here. She dropped the note and backed away like it had teeth. Outside, the street was quiet. Too quiet. She turned off the lights and pulled the blinds shut. But it didn't matter. She knew. He wasn't just alive. He was circling. And this was his way of knocking. Lyle's nerves were fraying. The Granger brand was in free fall. Investors were disappearing. Government contracts frozen. Partners ghosting his calls. He sat in his office, shirt unbuttoned, tie on the floor, pouring another 2 fingers of whiskey with a shaking hand. You've been compromised, his lawyer had told him. We either release a statement or disappear. Disappear? He laughed at the idea, but the sound came out wrong. High. Thin. Hollow. Then his phone rang. No name. No number. He hesitated, then answered. Lyle, a voice said, calm and cold. You always did like expensive things. Lyle froze. Cole, no need to confirm. I already know you're scared. That's what this is, right? The ice cracking under your feet. Lyle glanced out the window. You think this ends with me begging? No, Cole said. This ends with you knowing. Knowing what it feels like to lose everything, while watching it happen in slow motion. You want revenge? Lyle snapped. Come get it. I'm not coming for your blood, Lyle, Cole said. I'm coming for your legacy. The call ended. Lyle stood in the silence, heart racing. Outside, snow had begun to fall, light flakes over dark glass. But inside, he was already frozen. Cole sat in a dark room above the street, eyes fixed on the monitor. A silent feed from Lyle's personal security cameras ran on the screen: bedroom, office, garage, entryway. All of it accessible. All of it under his watch. He sipped coffee. Cold now. Next to him, Briggs scrolled through a decrypted hard drive. You're not just spying, Briggs muttered. You're haunting him. Cole didn't reply. Briggs leaned back. You really think he's going to crack? He already is, Cole said. On screen, Lyle paced in his kitchen, phone to his ear, sweat beading on his forehead. He changes the locks every 2 days, Cole said. Hired a new guard team yesterday. Slept with the lights on last night. He's unraveling. Briggs shook his head, a mix of admiration and concern. You ever worry you've become what you're chasing? Cole looked at him. I worry more about what happens if I stop. Briggs stared for a moment, then nodded. Fair enough. Back on the monitor, Trina appeared, stepping into frame in Lyle's hallway. Tense. Eyes darting. She whispered something to him. Cole zoomed in. They were arguing. Lyle grabbed her wrist. Trina pulled away. Cole's jaw tightened. You're not done with her? Briggs asked. Cole's voice dropped low. I don't know if she's still playing a part or just trying to survive. He clicked a key, saving the footage to another drive. But either way, I'm watching. Trina stood in the bathroom, gripping the edge of the sink like it might fall away beneath her. Her wedding ring, Lyle's, was still on her finger. She hated how heavy it felt now, not because of its weight, but because of what it meant. A lie. Everything she'd built with Lyle had been built on a lie. Once she told herself, once she sold to the world, Cole was gone. She had the right to move on, the right to rebuild, the right to feel something again. But deep down, she'd known. Even in those early nights, when the text started, when Lyle showed up with dinner, when the silence got a little too comfortable, she knew Cole wasn't just gone. He had been erased. And she helped make that possible. Now, that lie was unraveling. Lyle burst into the room. You need to control your face in public. Do you understand me? She turned slowly. You think that's the problem? My face. He pointed at her. You want to end up on the news next? You want your name dragged down with mine. It already is. He stepped closer. She didn't flinch. You think he's going to forgive you? Lyle said. You were part of this. You were with me. No, she whispered. I was just next to you. Lyle froze. And for the first time, she saw it in his eyes. Fear. Back in the safe house, Cole slid a small transmitter across the table to Briggs. Plant this, he said. Office. Boardroom. Wherever they meet next. Briggs turned it over in his hand. You think they're still talking deals? After all this? Cole leaned forward. They're desperate. Desperate people cling to each other. Briggs nodded and left. Cole sat alone, watching the monitors again. He had eyes on Lyle's office, the condo, even the secret meeting rooms downtown where deals used to get inked in silence. No, they were wired. Sound, video, live feeds, everything captured. The more Cole watched, the more the rot revealed itself. Lawyers plotting exit plans. PR agents building fake alibis. Investors trying to buy back deniability. But the wire that mattered most was on Trina. He hadn't told her. Not directly. But she'd found the bug in her purse 2 nights ago and hadn't removed it. She knew he was listening. And still, she spoke. About Lyle. About herself. About Cole. She whispered apologies to no one, confessions to the dark. He heard every word. And every word broke him and rebuilt him, all at once. Not because she sounded innocent, but because for once she sounded real. Cole stood in front of a house that didn't exist anymore. It had burned 6 months after his funeral. No official cause. No arrests. Just charred ruins and silence. This house belonged to Reynolds, his old teammate. The one who had doubts before the mission. The one who had started asking the wrong questions after Cole died. Now Reynolds was gone. His widow had moved to another state. His kids were living with their aunt. No one ever spoke his name anymore. Cole knelt down, brushing black dust from a concrete step. A sliver of melted metal glinted in the ash, an old unit tag. Reynolds' number. He pocketed it. Briggs stood behind him, quiet. This wasn't just to get rid of you, Briggs said. It was to wipe the slate clean. Anyone who could have connected the dots is gone, Cole finished. He stood, looking out over the wreckage. They tried to turn me to ash too, Cole said. Bury the past. Light the match. Briggs looked at him. So what now? Cole's voice was steady. Now we don't burn what's left, he turned. We light a signal fire so big, they can't ignore it anymore. The memory came back uninvited. Cole was sitting in the truck, rain tapping against the windshield like nervous fingers, watching the wedding footage on a loop, frame by frame. Not the public broadcast. His own cut. Angles no one else had. Audio no one else had. And in between the chaos, the gasps, the awkward silence when the projector played his message. He saw her. Trina. Frozen in her wedding dress. Eyes wide. Mouth slightly open. Tears brimming, but not falling. It wasn't fear that caught his attention. It was grief. Real grief. And in that moment, Cole remembered the last kiss. Before the deployment. Before the mission that became a grave. She'd pulled him in like she couldn't breathe without him. Kissed him like it would never happen again. And maybe, somewhere deep down, she knew. Maybe that kiss wasn't a goodbye. Maybe it was a confession, a warning, a silent scream before everything crumbled. Back in the truck, Briggs spoke from the passenger seat. "You all right?" Cole blinked. "Fine," he said. "Just remembering." Briggs eyed the screen. "Her, huh?" Cole nodded. "I don't know if I hate her more, or if that's what they want me to feel." Briggs leaned back. "You don't need to know. You just need to finish this." Cole shut the laptop. That kiss had lasted for seconds, but it had never really ended. The church was small, old, and mostly forgotten, hidden in the countryside where no one asked questions, and the past hung in the air like dust. Cole had chosen it on purpose. It was where the Rayall wedding was going to end. No guests, no flowers, just one final truth. He walked in with the case under his arm and opened it on the altar. Inside, copies of the drive, documents, audio, video, the entire paper trail of betrayal, sealed and printed. Beside it, an envelope, handwritten, Trina's name on the front. He left it there, then turned, walked down the aisle, quiet, calm, alone. Outside, the wind kicked up. He didn't flinch. The next move wasn't his. It was hers. Meanwhile, in the city, Trina stepped into her apartment and saw the note on the table. No box, no tricks, just a single sheet of paper. It read, "You want redemption? Come clean. Come alone. Door stays open until sunset." Below it, an address. She didn't move for a long time. Didn't call Lyle. Didn't run. She just stared. And then she picked up her keys. The dirt path crunched under her heels. She shouldn't have worn them, but she hadn't known where she was going, or what waited at the end of it. Trina walked toward the old church slowly, a shadow of her former self. No makeup, hair tied back, just a coat wrapped tight and hands hidden in her pockets. At the entrance, the door creaked open with the wind. Inside, dim light spilled through cracked stained glass. And there he was, Cole, sitting in the front pew, back straight, hands folded, like a man waiting for a verdict. She took a step in. He didn't turn. "You got my message," he said. She swallowed. "I did." He stood slowly. "You came alone?" She nodded. They stared at each other. Time didn't move. Then she whispered, "Why here?" "Because you said you wanted a new beginning," he replied. "This is where you make peace with the past." She stepped forward. "And if I can't?" "Then you don't walk back out." Silence. Then she reached into her coat and pulled out a folded sheet of paper. She handed it to him. Cole opened it. A confession. Signed. Detailed. Everything Lyle did. Everything she helped cover. No excuses. Just truth. "I'm tired," she said. "Of hiding. Of lying. Of surviving." He read every word, then looked at her. "You ready to walk through this?" he asked. Her voice cracked. "Yes." He nodded, then walked with her, side by side, down the aisle and out the front door, leaving the weight of it all behind them. For now, the crowd didn't know what to make of it at first. They were seated, smiling, wine glasses half full. A few laughed, assuming it was part of the wedding program, some unexpected twist to spice up the event. Then the music stopped, and Cole Maddox walked in, through the back gate, through the guests, straight down the aisle, eyes fixed ahead, shoulders squared like he was walking into battle. Gasps spread like wildfire. Trina was already standing near the altar, frozen in place. Lyle turned, white as bone, jaw slack. The cameras caught everything. Cole said nothing. He stopped at the end of the aisle, pulled a folded folder from his jacket, and extended it to Lyle. Lyle stared at it like it might explode. "What is this?" he said. Cole's voice was calm. "Cold. Evidence." He turned to the crowd. "You all know the public story. Navy SEAL declared dead. A grieving widow. A new man to fill the space. A beat. But that's not what happened." He held up the folder. "This man sold classified intel. Caused the deaths of multiple soldiers. Took money in exchange for silence. And married the woman who helped him bury the truth." Trina closed her eyes. The crowd was dead silent. "You want a toast to love?" Cole asked. "Here's the truth instead." He dropped the folder at Lyle's feet, then stepped back, waiting. and the world watched a man crumble. Lyle didn't move at first. The crowd watched him. Cameras streamed live. Phones were out, faces glued to screens, catching every twitch of his fingers, every drop of sweat on his brow. Trina looked at Cole. He wasn't there for a scene. He was there for a reckoning. Lyle bent down, picked up the folder with shaking hands, and started flipping through the documents, his own signatures, accounts, intercepted emails. He knew what was inside. He'd seen it before. But now, everyone else would too. He looked up. "You think this makes you a hero?" he hissed. "You think the world wants your story?" "No," Cole said. "But they deserve it." Lyle's voice cracked. "You came here to ruin me?" "I didn't have to," Cole said. "You did that yourself." Lyle turned to the crowd, desperate now. "This man is lying. He's mentally unstable. A fake. An imposter." "He's my husband," Trina said. Lyle stopped. Gasps rippled across the crowd again. She stepped forward. "I lied," she said. "To all of you. I went along with it. I let myself believe he was really gone, even when deep down I knew something didn't add up." She looked at Cole. "But I'm not lying anymore." Cole didn't flinch. The truth wasn't meant to feel good. It was meant to be true. Lyle snapped. He shoved the microphone stand, sending it crashing into the flower arrangement. The audience jolted as he grabbed Trina by the wrist. "You think you can humiliate me? You think this is justice?" Cole moved instantly, crossing the space between them like lightning. His hand closed around Lyle's wrist, yanking him off her with one fluid motion. "Let go of her." Lyle's eyes darted, wild. Trapped. He lunged for Cole, swinging wildly. Cole ducked it and drove a fist straight into Lyle's gut, dropping him to his knees. Guests screamed. Chairs fell over. Someone yelled to call the police. But Cole didn't move to strike again. He stood there. Over him. "I didn't come back to kill you, Lyle," Cole said. "I came back to watch you run." Lyle looked up, coughing. "You're finished." Cole turned and walked away, leaving Lyle on his knees, surrounded by silence and shame. Behind him, Trina stood, shaken but still on her feet. And Lyle? He did exactly what Cole expected. He ran, bolted down the aisle, through the gate, disappearing into the vineyard like a coward into the dark. Justice had been served. But the chase wasn't quite over yet. Lyle ran blindly through the vineyard, branches slapping his face, his feet slipping in the mud between the rows. The ceremony was far behind him now, voices fading, the weight of the truth chasing him harder than any man ever could. He didn't have a plan. He had fear. His mind was spiraling, trying to sort through the collapse. The contracts. The recordings. The leaked documents. Trina's confession. Cole's return. His world was a glass castle that had just been smashed to dust. He stumbled and fell hard, face first into the dirt. His hands sank into the soil, wine-stained and wet. For a moment, he stayed down, breathing heavy, listening to the sound of nothing. No crowd. No applause. No cameras. Just wind. He looked up at the stars peeking through the clouds. They didn't care who he was, what he'd done, who he stepped on to climb. All his power gone. Behind him, footsteps approached. Slow. Measured. Lyle twisted around. Cole. Standing a few feet away, breathing steady, expression unreadable. "Please," Lyle said, scrambling backward. "You got what you wanted. You exposed me. You humiliated me. Isn't that enough?" Cole stepped closer. Not even close. Lyle's voice cracked. "You're not going to kill me." "No," Cole said. "You're going to live." He crouched down. "You're going to wake up every day knowing the whole world sees you for what you are. That you built your empire on betrayal. And that it collapsed the second truth walked in." Lyle's hands trembled. "You're just like me." Cole leaned in, his voice sharp as steel. "If I were like you, you'd already be dead." He stood up, turned, and walked away. Lyle stayed on the ground. And for the first time in his life, he didn't feel rich. Or feared. He just felt small. The interrogation room was colder than it needed to be. On purpose. Trina sat at the metal table, hands folded, eyes forward. The lights buzzed above her, flickering now and then like they too were unsure of how this would end. A detective walked in, tall, calm, eyes worn from too many years of hearing too many lies. He dropped a folder on the table. Didn't open it. "You know what this is?" he asked. She nodded once. "You read the charges?" "Yes." He sat, studied her face. "Why now?" Trina swallowed. "Because I'm done lying. To them. To myself." He opened the folder, pulled out a recorder, and hit record. "This is your official statement. You understand that?" She nodded again. "I do. Start wherever you want." Trina took a breath, closed her eyes, then opened them and spoke. "I knew Cole was alive before the wedding. Not officially, not confirmed, but I knew. I felt it, and I ignored it, because it was easier." She looked up. "Lal told me it didn't matter. That if Cole was alive, he'd never come back. That the people who made him disappear made sure of it." "And you believed him?" "I wanted to." The detective waited. She kept going. "I was with Lyle before Cole left. It wasn't serious at first. Just a mistake. But it grew. And when Cole deployed, I didn't stop it. When the news came that he was dead, I didn't ask questions." Her voice cracked, because asking meant facing what I'd done. The detective was quiet. Then he asked, "And now?" She looked at him, tears in her eyes, but steady. "Now I'm telling the truth. Because I want to live with it, not hide behind it." She leaned forward. "And because I know he's still watching." The morning news hit like a bomb. Every major outlet. Every headline. "Former Navy SEAL Cole Maddox found alive. Exposes massive government cover-up. Whistleblower bride confesses. I helped bury my husband, Granger Technologies CEO, under investigation for military espionage, insider contracts." Cole didn't watch it on TV. He watched it through windows. At a diner on the edge of town, silent and tucked into a corner booth, sipping black coffee while every eye in the room stayed locked on the mounted screen. There he was. His photo. His rank. His story. But this time, it was told correctly. Briggs slid into the booth across from him. "They're saying you're a hero," Briggs muttered. Cole didn't smile. "Not the kind that gets medals." "Still," Briggs said, "you put it all out there." Cole stared at the screen. Trina's confession was being replayed now, audio overlaid with still photos, courtroom sketches, and blurred-out legal docs. "You think she meant it?" Briggs asked. Cole thought for a moment. "I think she meant it today," he said. "And that's more than I expected." Briggs nodded, then slid a folder across the table. "Final update," he said. "Lyle's been indicted. He's lawyering up, but it won't save him. They've got too much. Greer confirmed they're going to dig deeper, might clean out more than just him." Cole opened the folder. "Read the first few lines." Then closed it again. "I'm done with it." "You sure?" He looked at Briggs. "Let the world keep the story now. I'm not here for headlines." He stood, tossed a 20 on the table. "I've got somewhere else to be." Cole walked through the cemetery in silence. No crowds. No cameras. No names in the headlines today. Just rows of stones. Markers for the fallen. Some with flags. Some with flowers. Some with nothing at all. He stopped at 3 names. His team. The ones who didn't come back. He didn't speak. Not at first. Then he knelt, pulled a small envelope from his coat pocket, and placed it gently at the base of the first headstone. Inside were copies of the documents. The truth. Proof that they didn't die because of bad luck or an enemy too strong, but because of betrayal. Greed. A deal inked behind their backs. They couldn't read it, but maybe someone would. Someone who needed to know why their brother, son, husband, or father never made it home. He stood. Wind rustled the trees. Cold but clean. Briggs had offered to drive him out of town. He'd said no. Some things you need to walk away from on your own. He stepped onto the road, hands in his jacket pockets, and just kept moving. No destination. No plan. No weight in his chest. For the first time since the mission, he felt still. Not healed. Not whole. But honest. And that was enough. He passed a small girl walking her dog. She smiled at him. He nodded back. She had no idea who he was. No idea what he'd done. And that felt perfect. The letter had been buried at the bottom of a sealed box, beneath old medals, a cracked photo frame, and a pair of boots that hadn't touched soil in years. Cole hadn't looked at it since the day he left for the mission. It was folded once. Cream envelope. Her handwriting on the front. In case you never come back. He sat on the porch of a rundown motel just outside the state line. The sun was low, orange bleeding into the sky. His coffee was cold. His mind worse. He ran a thumb across the edges of the envelope. For a long time, he didn't move. Then, carefully, he opened it. Trina's words hit like a wave. I don't know what happens out there. I don't even know if you'll ever see this. But if you do, and something went wrong, know that I didn't mean to lose us. I just didn't know how to hold on to someone who was always one step away from the fight. I was scared, and selfish, and stupid. And if you're reading this, it means life gave us a second chance, maybe not together, but at least alive. Don't come back for me. Not for revenge. Not for answers. Just come back to yourself. He folded it slowly, set it on the table beside him. He didn't know if she wrote it out of guilt, love, or both. And maybe it didn't matter anymore. But one thing in that letter stuck with him. Don't come back for me. He hadn't. Not really. He'd come back for the truth. But now that he had it, he didn't know what came next. The podcast dropped at midnight. No warning. No preview. Just a black thumbnail with a red title, The Maddox Files. By morning, it had 1.7 million plays. A former military reporter had pieced together the timeline, used Cole's voice, Briggs' interviews, even court testimony from Trina, audio clips, drone surveillance, recorded phone calls. The truth had already hit the legal system. Now it was echoing through the public. Cole didn't narrate it. He didn't want to. But his voice appeared in a single clip played right before the final segment. I wasn't trying to be a hero. I wasn't trying to be anything. I just didn't want to die a lie. Those words hit differently because they weren't about war. They were about identity. Who we are when the world stops calling our name. When the medals mean nothing. When the people who said they'd stay don't. Cole sat in a bus station 2 towns over. Bag at his feet. Hat pulled low. Across from him, a young man was playing the podcast on his phone. He didn't even realize Cole was there. Didn't know he was listening to a ghost who was still breathing. The young man turned to his friend and said, "Man, can you imagine coming back from something like that?" His friend shook his head. "You think he's still out there?" Cole smiled faintly. He stood, grabbed his bag, and walked toward the exit. No answer, just a quiet step forward. Because an echo doesn't need to speak again. It just needs to be remembered. The cemetery was nearly empty. Just the wind, the trees, and the quiet crunch of boots on gravel. Cole walked between the rows with a cloth in one hand, a small bottle in the other. No press, no attention, just a man with time and memory. He knelt at the first grave. Reynolds, his teammate, father of 2. The one who smelled the betrayal early, asked questions too soon, and ended up in a house fire no one investigated. Cole wiped the dirt off the headstone, polished the letters, placed a single brass pin from their unit at the base. He moved to the next. Keller, shot through the chest in a hallway that was never supposed to be hostile. Dead before the medic even reached him. Buried with honors, yes, but buried under lies, too. Cleaned that one, too. Next was Grant, the team's youngest. 24. Bright, fast, loyal to the end. He was the only one who'd radioed back when things went bad. His last words still echoed in Cole's head. "Sir, we've been sold." He stayed longer at that one. When he finally stood, his hands were covered in grime. Sweat clung to his neck. His knees ached. But for the first time in years, his conscience didn't. "I got them," he whispered. "They can't bury you again." He turned to leave, but not before placing something at the final stone. A folded flag. His. The cafe was small, tucked between 2 bookstores on a quiet street outside Denver. Cole had been coming there every morning for 2 weeks. Same seat. Same order. Black coffee, corner table, back to the wall. He didn't talk much. Until she showed up. Her name was Nora. Mid-30s. Former journalist turned researcher. Sharp eyes. Softer voice. The kind of woman who asked careful questions and didn't panic at careful silence. She recognized him. Eventually. "You're Cole Maddox," she said one morning. He didn't answer right away. She didn't press. But she returned the next day, and the next. And then she brought him a newspaper with her article circled in red, "The Maddox Case, Aftermath and Unanswered Questions." He read every word. And when he finished, he asked, "Why write it?" "Because no one talks about what happens after," she said. "After the war. After the headlines. After the justice. What comes next?" Cole didn't know the answer. Still didn't. But her question followed him home. That night, he stood at the edge of a train platform, backpack slung over one shoulder, staring at the open road ahead. No destination. Just movement. He could leave. Disappear again. Or he could stay. Not for fame. Not for sympathy. But for purpose. There were other stories. Other names. Other ghosts like him. Maybe his job wasn't done after all. The train pulled in. Doors opened. He didn't step in. Not yet. He turned back toward the city and chose something new. The air was different now. Not lighter. Not warmer. But cleaner. Cole stood at the edge of a canyon in Arizona, boots on rock, wind pushing against his shoulders. A scar still ran along his jawline, barely visible under a short beard. The sun hit his face. He didn't flinch. Behind him? Silence. No headlines. No cameras. No voices dragging his name through courtrooms or comment threads. Just breath. For the first time since the mission, he wasn't looking over his shoulder. He wasn't planning his next move. He wasn't hiding. He was just here. Alive. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out the old compass, rusted, cracked glass, needle still twitching from every gust of wind. He turned it over in his hand once, then again, then tossed it into the canyon. Not out of anger, but because he didn't need it anymore. He wasn't trying to find his way back. There was no back, only forward. Back in town, Nora was waiting at the cafe. She'd circled a new name in red, another forgotten soldier. Another sealed report. Another quiet ghost the world had stopped asking about. Cole would take the file. He wouldn't run from it. Because maybe this was who he was now, not just a man who came back, but one who made sure others didn't get buried the way he had. Not just surviving. Living. Breathing. Alive. If you're still here, let me ask you something. If you were in Cole's shoes, betrayed, erased, and forgotten, would you disappear quietly, or come back and take the truth with you? Drop your answer in the comments. I want to hear how you'd rewrite your ending. And if this story hit you even a little, smash that like. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And if you know someone who needs a story like this, share it. Because some stories don't end. They live on just like he did. Until the next mission.